I just smashed what was left of a desk, but I'm keeping these drawers because I figure they might be good for storing junk in. I just need to build a cabinet for those, and for that I figure I'll use this piece of plywood, which is also from the garbage. And the width of that is just exactly what I need for the height, so I think I'll be able to cut this out very efficiently. So what's left is going to be just barely wide enough for the top here. This one drawer is an extra deep drawer made to look like two drawers on the front. I don't find that shape useful, so I'll cut that into two drawers. I just set my fence to the height of one of the regular drawers. That way I can cut a regular drawer off the bottom of this thing. This is the top of the double drawer, and this is a regular drawer. So now I need to cut more stuff off of here so the handles are in the right place. But I need to cut a bit deeper here so I have room for a plywood bottom. I just cut away part of that rather thick front, that way I have a bit of a ledge to nail the bottom plywood to. This is my bottom for this drawer, and I'm really going for the shittiest material because this is 3-ply plywood, but it actually started out as 5-ply plywood and it's sort of delaminated. Here's some of the extra laminations. The remaining laminations are fairly sturdy though, so I think it'll do. I can't really nail the front edge because it's hardwood, so I'm just putting a couple of screws in there. So this surface here is not going to be very good for the drawer to slide on, so I've got a hardwood strip that goes on here that the drawer will glide on. I've already glued this one on. Let's sand that first. And this goes on here, and then this goes there. Clamp it, and then a bunch of clamps.
I bunch of clamps.
That's a big machine. These drawers used to have whole frames between them, but that just uses up too much vertical height. So I want to put a rail right there. A rail right there, hidden behind this, which means I need to cut this down a little bit, and that makes this a little bit more consistent between all the drawers.
Oh.
That's right. I made these strips for the drawers to run on, but I need to remember to offset these back a little bit because this part here needs to fit inside the drawers. And then to space these out properly, I made this spacer here, and that determines the position of the next one. And then the drawer fits in here like this. But the sides of these drawers are only softwood, and I don't want this to dig into them too much. So I'm going to taper the fronts a little bit to be more smooth on that wood there. In fact, one of these drawers had quite a bit of wear to it, but it was a taller drawer than the other ones because I cut that from the double height drawer. And so I just passed the whole drawer over the jointer to smooth that out a bit. So I just love using drywall screws for this, partially because I know that the thread outside diameters is 9/64 of an inch, which means if I drill a 9/64 inch hole, that allows the screw to kind of move freely, but it locks the position very well, which is important here. So that way the hole doesn't have any clearance from the thread, but I can actually push it in there. This down. I haven't cut this side to its final height yet. I think I'll just cut it off here, so I just have a thin strip that's glued to the bottom of the cabinet that the drawer will write on, because there's no need to have an empty space underneath the last drawer. And this piece of plywood will be the top. And then making several table saw cuts on the bottom edge, this to cut a rabbet for the bottom to fit into. And now putting the top corner together, just screwing it on there. And then I realized I also meant to glue that, so taking it apart, putting glue in there, also sanding the edge of that piece there just to make sure I get good adhesion, and then putting it together with more screws. And right now there's quite a bit of background noise. That's because our kids, plus two neighbors' kids, are playing just out of view here in the basement. I don't mind that so much. It's nice and lively as long as I don't have to intervene. And I know as long as they're down here, I know they're not driving Rachel crazy. I'm using that very long clamp to push the plywood all the way into the rabbet, but I don't need to leave it clamped like that. Got hardwood strips glued on here for the bottom drawer to glide on, so it's not directly on the plywood. And I was gonna put a thin plywood back on this. Mostly that prevents it from racking, but I decided that just two pieces like that diagonally will do the job, because there's really no need to close off the back. Doesn't look too bad in terms of gaps, except for the bottom ones here. And that's because these crummy drawers are twisted. So if I weight them down a bit, that straightens out a bit. Well, mostly. And one thing that bugs me is when people say they don't make them like they used to, because these drawers are old and they are truly shitty drawers. They're just made out of softwood and pretty crappy pieces of softwood too. No nice joinery, and they have to slide essentially on this soft wood, which is prone to wear out. So even though I made kind of a crummy cabinet for these drawers, it's still too good for them because they are just terrible. So it's a junky cabinet using junky drawers for storing junk. A good match, I think. And one last thing, legs for it. Those are good for the uneven concrete floor, and if there's ever a water spill, then it won't soak into the plywood. And here it is set up and already partially filled with junk. I've got lots of other old desk drawers and such that I use for storing junk. Plus, of course, various drawers that I've built here too.